Hi folks, Mike Barone here with BoneRockers.com, and today we're going to talk about buying your very first electric guitar. And this is primarily directed to the parents out there who are thinking about purchasing an electric guitar for their child. There's a lot of confusion as far as what is a good deal and what it should cost for a decent instrument, and then how a value will hold up on an instrument over a period of time. And so I wanted to put this little video together and talk to you a little bit about some of the things to look for and some of the ways to not make bad mistakes when you're doing this. One of the main reasons why I wanted to make this video was for you parents out there to help you not make some of the major mistakes that parents make when they're purchasing an electric guitar for the first time for their children. This is my original electric guitar, and I got this when I was in that young rock puppy stage. I think I was maybe 14 years of age or something, and I'd never played an electric guitar before, and my parents and I really didn't know what to look for. So I wanted to make this video to help you not make the same mistakes that we did. One of the most critical and important things in purchasing an electric guitar is that it will tune well and it will hold a tune well. The reason behind that is because you want the best return on your investment for the instrument that you can get, and that is that your child will enjoy playing and practice more so that they sound better, right? So one of the most important things you can do is purchase an instrument that tunes well and stays tuned well. We're going to look at how to do that in just a second. But for right now, just get it out of your mind that purchasing something cheap and inexpensive because the child might not stick with music and might not stick with playing the guitar, that's not a good idea. And I'm going to show you some good reasons why in just a minute. Generally, I try to be discerning about instruments and the name brand situation. But in my opinion, and again it's my humble opinion, First Act is pretty much more of a toy. You'll find these in the bigger bargain stores like Walmart and Kmart and such, but in general if you're purchasing something like this, you're really getting more of a toy than you are an instrument. They do play and they can tune, but they don't hold together very well in my opinion, and they're pretty much just throwing your money away. Sometimes people think that the guitar is a little bit more disposable and they can find out if their kid really wants to stick with it or not. I say it's pretty much wasted money. Again, that's just my opinion, but that's an opinion coming from someone who actually does play. Parents will often ask me, what's the right amount of money to spend on a first-time electric guitar? And I have to answer that it's not about the money that you're going to spend, but the investment that you're going to make. And there's a couple things to look at there. One is, will the instrument retain its value? In other words, if you go to sell it later, will it be worth what you paid for it or somewhere near there? Or is it going to lose value? Or in some rare cases, is it actually going to go up in value? The other thing to be aware of is, again, you're investing in a lifetime of music for your child, so you really don't want to shirk out on doing a good job of that. One of the things I definitely recommend is that you buy used. It's just like buying a new car. As soon as you drive it off the parking lot, it drops in value. Same kind of thing with a brand new electric guitar. In general, if you find a good used guitar, and again you want to make sure that the tuning is good and that it stays tuned well, and it's fairly easy to play, then you're going to have a good investment. And if you go later on to upgrade or to sell it, you're going to basically get out of it what you purchased it for. One thing that you can do to definitely optimize the value of the particular instrument you're buying is to stick with the name brands. In general, Fender, Gibson, Yamaha, Ibanez, Peavey, there's a couple of other really good ones out there as well. But in general, you want something that when you go to upgrade later or to sell it outright, that it's going to maintain its value. And other musicians that are out there are looking for a good deal are going to look for those name brands first as well. So it's good to try to stick with those if you can. A lot of those companies make decent lower end guitars that still play well and are still tunable and stay tuned. But try to stick with those name brands if at all possible, because that will help you make sure that the instrument maintains its value. One thing to be particularly concerned about when purchasing are the tuning heads on the guitar. And that's this end of the guitar where the strings wrap around and then are turned with the tuning keys. There's a couple issues to be looking for there. One in particular is to look for the little collars that go around the pegs that hold the strings. If there are any missing collars, that's going to make that little peg wobble and it's going to make it not stay in tune well. This is an example of a guitar that does not have that little collar on the tuning peg. You can see it's missing on this one, it's on these other guys here. And you'll notice that this peg basically is free to kind of float around in that little hole, and that will make it kind of go back and forth and do odd things and not hold the tuning as well. So that's one of the issues, is to make sure that you have a decent tuning head situation on your guitars. Looking at the back of the tuning heads for just a second here, I find that in general the ones that are open like this tend to be a little bit more trouble. If you find some that have been sealed, for instance like these, those tend to work a little bit better. They tend to be a little bit more high-end and better grade. Another issue is the nut. That's this little bar right here that goes between the fretboard and the tuning head. And in general, you want to make sure that there are no chips or broken pieces on these. Sometimes you'll find them where they've been broken off, and if that happens, then it does not cradle the string correctly, and it's very hard for the string to be in the proper placement on the fretboard, and it's also hard for it to stay in tune. So make sure that the nut is in decent shape and doesn't have any cracks or broken parts on it. Another critical issue is what's called the action on a guitar, and that refers to how far off of the fretboard the strings float. Generally, the action on a guitar should be very low if at all possible, and it should be consistent from the early first frets all the way down through the body of the guitar and down to where the pickups are. Generally, a bad guitar will have very high action, which means that the strings will be way up off of the fretboard. That means it's going to be harder to push them down with your fingers and thus sound the notes and the chords. So you want to make sure that you have decent action on your guitar. Another fairly critical issue is that there's no buzz in the neck. And generally what you want to do is play the guitar on a string and go straight down the string on each fret and listen for a buzz. If you hear a buzz, you know you want to stay away from that particular guitar. Now if the neck is adjustable, it's quite possible that the buzz can be taken out, so that's not that big of a problem. But if the neck is not adjustable, you definitely don't want to have that guitar. The other thing is the cost of having all the little buzzes taken out and such can kind of nickel and dime you to death. So generally you want to try to find one that doesn't have buzzes to start with. Now one of the next issues you're going to be dealing with is the practice amplifier. There are plenty of them out there in the smaller sizes and smaller range. They can be turned up plenty loud enough to practice on, and your students can learn on these very easily. There's no need to go all the way up to the big rock and rollers until you're actually performing a show somewhere where you need to really project. A lot of the sales guys in those music stores are going to try to steer you toward this, Mom and Dad, and of course your 14 through 16-year-old is going to say, I have to have it, I have to have it. But in reality, these are just fine as far as learning goes. Now again, later on when you are performing for the first time, these are the way to go, the bigger ones. But for right now, a basic investment in one of these will do you just fine. It's never a bad thing to pick up a good electric tuner. They're fairly inexpensive, and that will help your child to learn how to tune the guitar sooner and be able to make things that sound actually like music instead of noise sooner in their lives. As far as the effect pedals and things go, they're all very interesting and they're kind of fun to mess around with, but you really don't absolutely need one to get started. And one other thing that I would recommend is that you purchase a set of Bone Rocker headphones so that your child won't blow their hearing out while they're learning how to play the electric guitar. I'm Mike Barone from BoneRockers.com. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial about how to buy your first electric guitar for your child or for yourself, and I hope to see you out there playing someday. Bye for now.